This is Jeff with the Valhalla Ventures, REIGuideservice.com, REIGUIDESERVICE.com. Wanted to talk about good communication, bad communication, and why I like bad communication. I love it. I love bad communication. The reason that I love bad communication is because without bad communication, I wouldn't have a job. There'd be nobody to pay me because everybody would be communicating just fine. And I wouldn't be able to make any money because people that were wanting to sell their house, they would be able to communicate to contractors and real estate agents, and they'd be able to communicate with the people that are in the profession of doing the things they would need to do to get their house up to retail and to be able to sell it for retail. But that's a pain in the butt, not because of anything other than communication. Bad communication, not believing what you're being told, of course, is part of that, but just not getting back with people, that kind of stuff. Nobody wants to deal with that. So as a result, they call me, they say, hey, I want to sell my house. I just want something quick, a piece of paper with an offer. I don't want to have to deal with all the BS of trying to communicate with people. So me being a good communicator is important. I'm not always a good communicator. And what I mean by that is by the standard of what everybody else in society is a general rule that we agree on. But we all agree on this rule that we should be nice and, don't be rude to people and do your best to communicate well. And I really try, but the reality is that a lot of people in society don't follow that rule. And if you try to follow that rule and be nice to people that are rude to you, then you're going to be taken advantage of, you're going to be frustrated, you're going to be not a happy camper, right? And so being able to communicate with those rude people, though, sometimes is important and sometimes is vital. And you can't just... you just can't be rude to people because they're rude to you all the time. Sometimes you just gotta suck it up and be like, all right, well, they were rude. How do I deal with this now? And the mentality of the customer's always right is a big issue because the customer, quite honestly, is very rarely right. Most of the time, the customer has no idea what they're talking about, and that's why they've hired a professional. It's just important that we communicate with each other in business. Everyday life, the waitress, the waiter, the gas station attendant, it's easy to be nice to those people. It's easy to communicate clearly to those people. But when you're talking about the title company to close on a deal, an agent that's trying to buy a deal from you who won't respond to your texts or emails, there's all these different people in business that you don't have to deal with, but life is just a lot easier and smoother if you are good at communication. If you can figure out a way to deal with those rude people and those really nice people. Both of them have to be dealt with. And of course the nice people are easy. But part of that also is not taking advantage of people that are nice. If they're willing to do things for you and go above and beyond for you, then you should be willing to not take advantage of that. Get what's a win-win for both parties. And communicating what a win-win looks like is really the only way to do it, because people are going to get upset. There's going to be problems. There's going to be issues. There's going to be disagreements. That's all fine. That's going to exist. How to communicate and get through those things is what's important. And finding the win-win. The only way you're going to do that sometimes it just happens, and that's cool. I like that. Man, this UPS truck next to me is trying to race me, I think. I'm doing a little bit above the speed limit, and he's coming up fast. I forgot what I was saying. So distracted by the very fast UPS truck. I've never seen that before. sometimes that win-win's going to happen on its own, right? You're not going to have to really fight for it or argue for it or debate about it. It's just going to happen. And so what I would say is focus more on bettering yourself on, first, trying to come up with a win-win from the very, very beginning. That's a good thing. But then also, if that can't be done, be willing to throw out what you think a win is. Let them be willing to throw out what a win is, and start from scratch and come up with something together. An example of that would be if I'm going out and I'm looking to buy someone's house, and I've given them all the numbers, and let's say they want me to come up $5,000, and mathematically I can't come up $5,000, because if I come up $5,000, then it throws everything off. I'm a math and a numbers guy in the sense of I want to know what every number is. I want to put it all in the calculations, and as long as I'm making the percentage that I've dictated I have to make to be willing to do a job, which is 18%. I mean, I'll tell you what that is. If I can't make that on a flip, I don't want to do it, right? So they want $5,000 more. If I give them that $5,000, that throws off the whole thing. I can't make it the money that I need to make for me to do it anymore. But what if I get them to owner finance it to me for 90 days? If they owner finance it to me for 90 days, and I can get my guys in there and get it all cleaned up and ready to sell in 2 weeks, and this is a hot market, so I feel real confident I can get this thing sold at retail, give them that extra $5,000, and the savings I'm getting is from not having to pay closing costs. Right? I didn't have to buy the property, so I didn't have to pay closing costs for the property, so that probably saved me $5,000. That's a win-win. We both got what we wanted out of it, right? I didn't have to step outside of what my budget was, and the customer or the seller got what they wanted out of it, which was the $5,000. You have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to problem solve, and do it in a way that the people enjoy doing business with you. Because if people don't enjoy doing business with you, they're not going to do business with you. I've had tons of people that have sold me properties, and I knew for a fact, and they knew for a fact, that they could get way more from someone else. But they wanted to sell it to me because they like me. Because I took the time to go through all the stuff and explain things with them. I walked around their properties. I looked at the attic. I checked out that crawl space thing they were talking about. And I did all of the stuff to communicate that I actually cared about them as people and cared about what it is that they wanted and needed. And that was more important to them than the cash. And that's the kind of people you want to do business with. They're not easy to find because most people are very guarded and protected. But if you can communicate well enough, you can get past that, and you can be an honorable person and be in service of others, and they can see that, then you will find those relationships where communication is easy. And to be frank, it's gotten a lot easier because now my primary focus is on new clients, people that are coming to me, being able to communicate that even though we've never spoken, that they can trust me, that we've never done business together, but that I'm honest, that I have a name of integrity. Communication in that is important. I'm glad it doesn't always exist. I'm not gonna lie, gotta be honest. Without really shitty communication, I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in. I wouldn't have been able to be a contractor because people would have just hired the trades directly. I wouldn't be able to be an investor because people would just sell their house to the retail buyer at the end directly. Like every job I've had along my professional career has been solving problems where there's major communication issues in that arena. Solving people's problems. It's a very good moneymaker. And it doesn't always come in the forms you think. You gotta be creative. Anyway, it's almost 10 minutes long already. That's more than enough. I've jabbered on. I'm sure I've repeated the same thing like 6 times. If you want to find me on the social medias, you can. I'm on the Facebooks, on the Instagrams, on the YouTubes. I'm on all of them. You can look me up at thevalhallaventures.com,
REIGuideservice.com, REIGUIDESERVICE.com. Be blessed. Bless others. Have an amazing day. And communicate or something. I don't know. That's a really bad way to end a video about communication. Not knowing how to end it. Just blabbering. Sounds about right.